All right. Are you excited?
Woo!
Are you in your lunch coma? Food comas? What was for lunch today? Barbecue, I'm guessing. Barbecue tacos. All right. All right. As people get settled, I'll just quickly introduce myself. I'm Jeremy Fain, CEO, co-founder of Cognitiv. We're a deep learning advertising platform. We help advertisers create algorithms that will place ads for them programmatically, whether that's through large language models, which you're hearing a lot about, like contextual, or through actual performance optimization. So we're taking first-party data from the advertisers and creating algorithms that better and more efficiently find whatever KPI they're looking for, and it works really well. We're doing great. Thank you very much. Jordana, would you like to introduce yourself?
It would be my pleasure. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. I'm Jordana Barish. I am the VP and Allegra brand lead in North America. And I'm very happy to be here today. We can probably use some of Cognitiv services, so maybe we should talk after this. Do you want me to give a little bit about my background?
Well, actually, let's just jump into it.
Okay.
So I looked at your LinkedIn profile. You basically know everything about, pharma. You're a pharma woman. So could you tell us a little bit about your career and how you ended up here?
Absolutely. So I'm a pharma woman. I'm going to put that on my LinkedIn. But very healthcare focused for sure in my career to date. The first half was definitely pharma, and that's how I got started carrying a bag, as they say, as a salesperson, kind of moving up the ranks in the traditional pharma world. And then I moved into brand management on the pharma side and realized, I really like being closer to the strategy of how brands are formed and ultimately promoted. And that kind of spurred me to look more into, okay, well, is this really marketing or do I want to do like more pure marketing? So after MBA, I made the jump into consumer goods, but I wanted to keep the healthcare connection because it's really meaningful to me to be in the healthcare industry for my personal purpose. I love being able to make an impact positively on people's lives through healthcare, and our health is one of the most important things that we have. So I went the consumer goods route, but in the consumer healthcare space, and that's afforded me the opportunity to work on some pretty iconic brands, including Icy Hot. Yes, I have met Shaq. He's very cool. Zantac, Dulcolax in the digestive wellness space. So if anyone has any constipation needs from their trip here, can help you with that. And then Sanofi also has a nice allergy portfolio with a number of different allergy brands that I've had the pleasure of leading. Xyzal, Nasacort, and of course Allegra. And I know we're going to spend more time talking about that today.
All right, so let's talk about Allegra. Why is it different from all of the other brands?
Oh, let me count the ways.
Yeah.
No, Allegra is a fantastic brand. I mean, it's all about empowering consumers to manage their allergy symptoms with confidence. And we do that in sort of the tonality and personality of the brand, but most importantly in terms of how it works. So Allegra is all about relief without compromises. And that means it delivers on what consumers are looking for, both in terms of efficacy. They want fast relief. They want something that's long lasting, but they also want something that has fewer side effects. And the side effects that are most common in the allergy category are drowsiness. So you may be familiar with, some of the first generation allergy brands that I won't name names, but they do have some significant side effects in terms of literally putting people to sleep. They're also used as sleep aids, by the way. And Allegra has a unique benefit of being non-drowsy. And that's what's really differentiating about Allegra. But it's also a challenger brand in the U.S. because we're third to market. So we can talk more about some of the challenges that the brand has in terms of standing out.
All right, but so Xyzal's another part of the Sanofi family, but that's why I think I saw an ad the other day. They had an owl talking about going to sleep or something. So it's that must be a drowsy one.
So you met Nigel.
Nigel, yeah. There are
yes.
a lot of owls as brand
This is
ambassadors.
True. But Nigel's the
interesting.
cutest, right?
We just had a sad owl death in New York.
Oh no.
Yeah, the owl that he escaped from the zoo, and then he lived free for a year, but then he ran into a window.
Oh God.
He died.
Okay. Well,
But Nigel's smarter than that.
yeah, Nigel would never. No, you're exactly right. Xyzal does have some drowsiness, but that's where there's some smart positioning at play, which is sort of turning a potential negative into a positive. 30% of consumers do like to take their allergy medicines at night, so let's leverage that occasion that's already occurring with a brand that has that as an effect and use it for nighttime use.
All right, so how many people out there take some kind of antihistamine? Okay. All right, that's a lot. And you were saying in prep like 30% of the of America or the world has an allergy of some
The
sort.
world.
The world.
But including America. It's
Okay.
extremely prevalent, it's extremely common, and it's actually increasing in prevalence, and that's linked to a number of different things, but one of the most significant is sort of the lengthening pollen seasons tied to climate change and the fact that the growing seasons are longer. Different types of pollen are prevalent more throughout the year, in addition to all of the other allergy triggers. And this is creating an increase in allergy incidence, so much so that within the next 20 years, by 2050, basically, 50% of the world's population will have an allergy, be allergic to something. So unfortunately for many of us, it's not going away, but the good news is we have a lot of ways that we can help.
Yeah, so another poll, because I personally have this problem. How many of you feel like you didn't have allergies to pollen and things like that when you were younger, and now you feel like you have some?
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely me. So when I was younger, I don't remember ever having a problem when the seasons changed, and now I definitely feel something, and that's because there's more pollen.
We hear that a lot, and it could be due to any number of reasons. I mean, our bodies are so interesting because it can also be related to, changes in hormones. For example, after I had my first son, I randomly became allergic to pollen for one season, and then it kind of went away. So, it can change as our bodies change over time, but the broader sort of macro factor is, in fact, climate change and the lengthening of the pollen season.
All right, so why are you here at South by? I've seen some pedicabs around that talk about Allegra. Is that part of your story here?
It is indeed. So we're super excited to be here and launch what we're calling Allegra Airways. Which, woo! We have some of the team here. It's a new technology, a first-in-class new technology that essentially provides real-time routes for cleaner air. And what that means when we say cleaner air, we mean less pollen and less pollution. So it's essentially a navigation tool that allows people to map from point A to point B, a walking route, a biking route, a running route, and choose. They have visually available data to be able to make a decision on which route do I want to choose relative to the pollen and pollution levels that are along that route.
Sounds cool. Do we have a video?
We just might.
All right. cool. And I used this before I even prepped for this thing, and it was really interesting. It was exactly the way it's shown, where I was given two different routes, and the direct route actually had less pollen, but it showed how much less. And even 2 blocks, it was just like two block difference of going out of my way. So that was really interesting.
I'm so glad you've tried it.
Yeah. So I have a question. All right. So another thing that happens to me is like when I'm on the road a lot. So I'll feel very differently in different places. Is that just because it's like a different pollen or a different ragweed or something like that? How does that work, the traveling piece?
Absolutely. So maybe I'll kind of come to that in sort of a roundabout way because there's some interesting aspects of the tool that directly address that specifically. But I did want to mention earlier, you probably saw the list of cities scrolling through, and Austin was at the top of the list. And one of the other nice connections here to South by is the fact that Austin, for better or worse, is one of the allergy capitals of America. So we're not only here because it's a beautiful sort of intersection of tech and innovation and brand, but also because we can legitimately help people, whether you're from here, whether you're visiting, to your point. And exactly to your point, there are different pollens in different areas. So we hear people tell us all the time, you know, I was living in Phoenix and I didn't have any allergies, and then all of a sudden I moved to New Jersey and I've got all the allergies. And that's because there are different pollens in different areas. And in Austin, it happens to be, you know, cedar that's very prevalent right now and creates a lot of allergies for people. The other interesting thing I wanted to mention as far as sort of why we developed the tool is around the insight behind it. And this was a big aha for me. Maybe you had this insight as well, around the connection between pollen and air quality. So you saw the stat in the video around 3 times. So air pollution exacerbates allergy symptoms by up to 3 times. And I had no idea. I knew there was sort of a correlation, but I had no idea that it was that serious. And when we started looking into it, we realized that it really is the science behind what pollution does to pollen. It actually alters the pollen structure and makes it more aggressive and raises, therefore, your histamine levels and impacts your ability to manage appropriately your reaction to allergies, and that's what causes symptoms. So you might find in different places that you travel that air quality is worse, and that it could also be making your experience with allergies worse because of the way that it affects the pollen.
Like sitting next to the barbecue smoker.
Correct.
All right, so when I used the tool, it gave me these 2 different routes. One of them had 43% more pollen. Right? How do you know that? 2 blocks away, how do you know that? What is the tech behind that?
Yeah, I think that is core to Allegra Airways because we all have weather apps on our phone, and you can get pollen data or you can get pollution data, but it's usually at the zip code level. And okay, great. So I know pollen is high in my area that day, but what do I do about that? What's unique about Allegra Airways and the data that powers it, we've partnered with a company called Ambi. They're a climate and environmental data intelligence company. And the pollen and air quality APIs that they provide are down to an accuracy of 5 meters. And that enables you to literally see differences between one street to the next street and make a choice as, do I want to go right or do I want to go left? And it really is that sort of granularity that enables Allegra Airways.
Yeah, there must be like different trees or more traffic or something like that.
Exactly.
Interesting. All right, so are there any other features of the tool besides just, hey, A to B? Can you filter for different things? And
yeah, I mean, I love the route mapping functionality at its core, but there are a number of other features that I really love. When we first heard about sort of the pollen pollution connection, even us as sort of industry professionals and working in this category for a long time, it was an aha. So you can imagine for a typical consumer, there really isn't a lot of awareness around that topic. So education as part of the solution was really important. And so you may have noticed if you go in and you select your route, you can click into it and understand specifically the pollen levels or specifically the pollution levels, and then double click into that and understand, well, what specific types of trees and what specific types of pollutants are in the air and their levels, and how does that impact me? And putting that data in the hands of people really empowers them in ways that they've never have been before to make choices, but also to even understand what are the triggers that are impacting them that they may not have been aware of previously.
All right, so you've got this cool tool. You spent a lot of money developing it. How are you going to get people to use it, know about it, et cetera? What's the brand campaign look like?
Yeah. So we're launching here, of course, and you may have noticed some purple pedicabs around town. So if you haven't had a chance yet, please go ahead and take a ride. They're powered by Allegra Airways, so you can literally see the technology in action.
Wait, what does that mean? They only take you on a route that has low pollen, or?
They're loaded up with iPads, and you can use the tool. And you can see how it works, and you can choose the route. I mean, if you want to take the high pollen route, you're welcome to. It's your choice. So we're launching here sort of with an activation. But then also we want to build awareness because we want to really bring this tool to as many people as possible. And that's our goal, is to help as many people as possible. And so, of course, we have some mass sort of reach and awareness driving activities. We've gotten amazing earned media attention so far. We're really excited. I think currently about 70 outlets have picked it up, the story, because the technology is super innovative. I think it's up to 2 billion impressions. The team can keep me honest, which is amazing. But we're also really excited about our celebrity spokesperson. So we're announcing that we're partnering with Lance Bass of NSYNC fame, who, of course, is a boy band icon, but also allergy sufferer. And he lives in LA, and he's sort of out and about with his kids and doing his, daily things. Pickleball apparently is a personal favorite of his, but he needs to be allergy free, and so he's been using Allegra Airways and really sort of reaching the masses with it and talking about it as much as he can because he really believes in it. And then of course we're partnering with more influencer voices to really drive reach and put some paid behind it as well.
So in my research, it looks in your earned media and the press coverage, you beta launched it at Climate Week in New York, so you had a lot of people trying to use it. So tell us about some of the users, and I mean, is it, hey, it works exactly the way we wanted it to work, or what are they? How are they using it in their daily life?
Well, of course it didn't work the way we that's why we beta tested it. We saw an opportunity. This was back in September of 23, so just a few months ago, sort of timed with the UN Climate Week in New York City, where we knew we would have sort of an audience where this topic in terms of air quality and pollution was top of mind. And we were able to quickly roll out a beta just to get feedback. And the feedback was really positive. Of course, there were things that we needed to address, which we did in the national rollout, but overwhelmingly, there was a lot of enthusiasm and excitement, and that really led us to use it as the basis for a national launch and sort of the cornerstone of our spring activation. So, of course, we're rolling this out nationally. It actually just launched this past week. It's available for anyone that wants to try it. But it's also part of our overarching spring activation and campaign. We're doing also a partnership with Vox Media that we're excited about because it's all about, from an emotional perspective, enabling people to live their greatness, not their allergies. And so, this enables them to kind of bypass routes with pollen and pollution in order to get to whatever it is that they're trying to get to. And oftentimes it's sort of wellness goals that are impacted by their allergies. You might have participated in our fitness class yesterday on the top of the JW Marriott, which was really fun. And we'll be doing more of those types of activations just to continue to bring awareness to this topic and to get as many people involved as possible.
Yeah, I want to dig in a little bit to the messaging and the purpose of Allegra, but before we do that, I thought it was interesting to hear just now about, the beta launch didn't go exactly as we planned, et cetera. So could you talk a little bit about it as a brand manager and a leader, when you're doing something like this piece of technology, that iterative process, how important is it to test it somehow? And how did you respond to all that?
Yeah, I think that's true, in pretty much everything that we do. And a mantra that we have is progress over perfection. So it's not about getting it perfect the first time and spending 2 years developing something and then putting it out there and hoping that everything is ticked and tied, but it's about learning as you go and getting something out there that can make a difference now, but then still being humble enough to recognize that there's still opportunities and still ways to improve the user experience and the design, which was a lot of the focus of what we did in the national launch. And I think that applies to everything that we do. So we're going to take the learnings from this and continue to build on it and build functionality and improve things as we move forward.
Great. All right, so last question. I think maybe we'll have a few minutes for some Q&A. The consumer healthcare line of Sanofi has sort of a purpose-driven approach to its branding. Can you talk a little bit about that and how Allegra fits into that?
Yeah, definitely. I mentioned earlier kind of my personal purpose and working in healthcare and being able to impact people's lives through the work that we do. And that's one of the other reasons that I enjoy working at Sanofi in particular. Sanofi was recently B Corp certified. It's one of the first major consumer healthcare organizations in the U.S. to achieve that distinction.
What does that mean?
It basically means you're committed to sort of society and the environment and to improving both through your actions. And it's not typical for a large pharma company to achieve that designation. And Allegra Airways is sort of a small part in sort of the bigger role of Sanofi's role in the world.
Great. All right. We have a few minutes left. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask?
We did not pay her to say that.
I'm going to repeat what she's saying. She's an Allegra customer. Works the best. So how do you tie Airways back to actual sales?
It's a great question, and we always need to be thinking full funnel. Of course, this is an awareness campaign at its core. It's a reach-driving initiative at its core, but at the same time, we have a business to run. We're very conscious of that. And one of the coolest features that I didn't mention earlier, but thank you for teeing it up because it's really important to mention that we want people to be able to avoid pollen and pollution, of course, but it's not always possible, right? You're going to experience your allergy triggers and you're going to experience symptoms. So we've built in a functionality, a dynamic mobile offer functionality, so that when pollen levels are high, we offer an increasing value coupon so that you can find relief when you need it most for your symptoms.
I mean, it would be cool when the route is 100% pollen and you're like, detour to CVS, buy Allegra, continue on your way.
That's our next iteration.
Right, got it.
I had a question about how you think about your innovation pipeline, because this was a really cool one where you did a partnership, right? But there's so much pressure on marketers right now to increase the cadence of your innovation. How are you thinking through that right now?
Yeah, that's a great question, because we do think of this as innovation, which is maybe atypical for a consumer health organization that's very sort of product focused. But I think to your point, we need to get out of the product focused mentality and sort of move beyond the pill to other types of innovation. So we're really exploring and open to all sorts of commercial innovation, tech innovation, in addition to product innovation. One of the speakers earlier mentioned something about sort of doing more with what they have. I think it was one from Galderma. And I think that's also an opportunity for us as well. We don't always need to pump out new products. We actually have great products that work really well. And sometimes it's just about reaching people in new ways with those products.
Yeah, would you say that this is the kind of thing that is necessary for, and I think you told me earlier that Allegra is a challenger brand, like it was number 3 to market, because it is hard for the average consumer to understand the difference between these antihistamines. This is the kind of thing that you're constantly thinking about, is like, we have to differentiate, and we can't innovate our product necessarily. We have to innovate the brand, I guess.
That's exactly right. And because we have this sort of challenger mindset as a challenger brand, you know, we're number 3 in the market, not because it's not great, but basically if you're familiar with sort of the OTC industry and products that have switched from prescription to OTC, the market shares typically follow the order of products that have launched. So the first to market has number 1 share, second to market has number 2 share, and so on. We were third to market, so we automatically sort of get 1/3 share. So we need to find ways to cut through much bigger players that are out there. And of course, you can do that with the most traditional way, which is share a voice, but we don't always have the budgets for that. So we need to find other ways to differentiate and innovation of this type, and really taking it back to relevance for the consumer and finding ways to be meaningfully differentiated and distinctive and ownable is a key way that we do that.
I think we have time for one more question. Anybody? We're coming down to it. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, everybody.